Hello, everybody. Hi.
Hello.
Thank you very much for joining us today. We're here today to on another smart game, Ask the Expert session, and today we're going to take a bit more of a deep dive into the developments within rich media, specifically within the world of in-app mobile. My name is Murray Phillipson. I work for Smart on the demand side, helping advertisers and agencies find the best routes to their audiences. And today I'm joined by Sasha Idjuski from Gameloft. Hi, Sasha.
Hi, Murray. Nice to have you here.
Thank you very much. I've got to say, it's my first time in the Gameloft space station.
Amazing.
I'm
I'm
going to
very
say,
excited by that.
I love what you've done with the place.
You see, all sort of things we can do at Gameloft.
So thank you very much. You're our resident expert on rich media, and it's great to have a chance to talk with you today. Tell us a little bit about yourself, and tell us a little bit about Gameloft.
Absolutely. Well, before we deep dive into rich media discussion, I would just like to take this opportunity at the very beginning, because we all live in a challenging and times and facing uncertainty. So I think really events such this one are a huge positive leap forward, for a hardworking industry as this is one. And just before I deep dive, as I said, I would really like to use the opportunity to thank you for having me on the call. Smart Server and Gameloft has been working together since 2015, and it's an absolute pleasure to be part of this event. So I'm really looking forward as well later on to hearing from some of the speakers.
Thank you.
If you would like, maybe I can share my screen quickly so you can
Sure.
see an overview what Gameloft has and what Gameloft done so far. Right, so I'm Sasha Idjuski and I'm in charge for programmatic operations EMEA with Gameloft, one of the world's biggest mobile games publishers. We are part of Vivendi Group, which is a media conglomerate that includes Universal Music Group and also Studio Canal, amongst others. When I think about Gameloft primary business, it's Gameloft primary business. We have a closed owned and operated network of free-to-play games in a lot of different genres. We started advertising in 2015, and back then clients were spending about 5 to 10% on mobile in comparison to overall budget. So a lot of things have changed in that time. Around the time we started running direct integration with programmatic partners, including Smart Server and other SSPs. Even at that early stage, we noticed there is a demand that we should advertise within our own network. We saw a lot of success, and as demand was kind of constant throughout, we eventually built a creative studio of overall 100, more than 100 people, and the team is now working exclusively on providing gamified content solution for brands. And this is why I'm so very excited to talk about PLAYABLES through the lens of in-app publisher via programmatic channel. So again, thank you very much for having me.
It's great. It's exciting times.
The way I would probably start off this is, and now I'm getting back to Zoom, as I said, technology. The way I would probably start with where we are at this stage is probably we're going to have to reflect what was happening in past. And I think that we live in a world that generates a lot of low quality content, right? With over 5 billion pieces of content on Facebook and like over 500 hours of content uploaded to YouTube every minute, and like more than 2 million mobile apps available. I really think that brands struggle cut through the noise of the increased amount of content online. And Mari, I'm not really sure if you're going to agree with me on this one, but sometimes we really need to differentiate ourselves from the entire noise in order to find appropriate solution, right?
It's the challenge I think every brand, every advertiser has. They're trying to reach their designated engaged audiences, and there's a lot of choice.
Yeah, absolutely. When it comes down to advertising, as we all talking about the advertising here, right? These rich media, or like more specifically, gamified solutions could be an alternative way to engage with content in a meaningful and rewarding fashion. When brands give audience content that they connect with, it helps to establish a relationship which can lead to a higher level of either loyalty, either retention, or repeat purchases. Because at the end of the day, it's for majority of brands, it's all down to sales, right?
Yeah.
So just speaking about these static ads, there is a very interesting research conducted by Tabjoy. And so let me just go back to this one. Yeah, this is the one. Now, what was the research all about? They've been asked, the participants been asked about how they find ads. Do they find them interesting? And while consumers consider many forms of digital ads as annoying and intrusive, 72% said they like interesting ads in exchange of in-app currency or premium content. So at the end of the day, I think it's all about the rewarded inventory as well.
Obviously, this is streets ahead of your standard display. I mean, which is it's been with us forever, and I think everybody understands the huge limitations. And I think I'd like to think that everybody can appreciate the advances there are to actually start to integrate messaging, within content.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? We can actually see the trends. Things have been improving over the time, and technology has improved over the time. So from these basic static banners and interstitials that we had at the very beginning, we kind of shifted towards videos. And now to back this up, the research from Tabjoy, I think there is also a very cool study from OpenX. OpenX research says that nearly 80% of consumers prefer rewarded video ads. Now, ads, those are like video ads that provide a value to exchange for the watching the ad, right? And the research also shown that playable video ads provide a better advertising experience than any other format. So, when we talk about playable solution, we could possibly think this in a way of a new advertising movement in a way. And this is why I'm so very excited to be part of that as well.
Yeah, it's good that sort of marrying. Obviously, it really does depend on what the content is, and to some degree, there are certain segments of audiences which this is more applicable to than others. But I just like the idea that there's more. Basically, it's that trick of how do you engage that? How do you engage that audience? How do you bring them something that they actually want to sort of lean forward into, rather than this rather disruptive way that a lot of advertising is.
Yeah, absolutely agree. And another point that I would like to show you, and again, going back to Zoom, is an actual examples how some of these static formats actually look like. And we are seeing a revolution of advertising from potentially and initially annoying examples like the ones that I'm showing on the screen, to being a positive experience and part of the content. And again, I'm not really sure if you're gonna agree with me on this one, but I reckon that people, they love playing. So it's all about playing, and what makes games the biggest and fastest growing entertainment industry is actually this fun part about gaming. And thinking about gaming industry itself, I mean, the revenue surpasses the film and music industry combined. So that's a massive opportunity. And what I'm trying to say here is that brand could be tapping into this massive opportunity if they adopt these playable solutions instead of running online campaigns with static creative formats.
Tell us, have you got tell us a little bit about some of the challenges of working. At the end of the day, there must be a lot more collaboration between the brand and the you know, the world of the output, as it were, the content creator. Is it, what would you say some of the challenges are in that, of working?
You know, one of the massive challenges, what I've noticed running these sort of playable ads within Programmatic, is different protocols that you really need to be aware of from really both sides of the ecosystem. Either demand side platforms have very unique and specific parameters that you need to respect, or there is a lot of limitations on the supply side as well. This actually brings me to another point, and I'm going to try to show you on the screen as well. Speaking about rich media, you know, rich media campaigns can tap into unique ad functionality to achieve both performance and like branding goals. These immersive, rich formats remain in view higher and longer than traditional formats, enabling them to deliver more memorable experiences, you know. And again, going back to some of the studies that I found online, which I found very interesting, one of them is IAB Playbook Report. And the report said that 71 of the advertisers find playable ads to be effective for their brands. So, you know, these formats are more interactive, pursue more engagement, and generally have a higher impact than normal banners. And as you asked me about the challenges, what we really need to take into account is to serve rich media programmatically isn't the easiest, because like there's, as I said, many different protocols that ad exchanges holds their publishers by. And, you know, serving a sophisticated rich media format in thousands of apps requires compatible creative formats, amongst others, you know.
So do you think it's incumbent on the industry to get itself sorted out when it comes to standardization? Because at the end of the day, an advertiser basically is trying to say, look, if you've got the audience that I want to talk to, and you can help me talk to them because you have a technology in a way to allow them to interact with my brand, it's up to you to make it happen. So are there some things that that you think that the industry should be really pushing for to help unlock and to some degree educate what the agencies and the brands what is actually available to them?
Yeah, that's an absolutely great question, because what I've noticed so far is that industry is moving in a very good direction of increasing transparency as overall. And how we're going to reach there? Well, I'm sure with specific protocols and specific rules that we should put in place. And, you know, majority of them are obviously coming from IAB, and this standardization that you're talking about is very crucial for higher transparency, for buyers to understand better what are the costs behind. You know, if you're talking about viewability as well, those are very crucial factors for creatives, first of all, but at the same time for the online campaigns to be successful. And so also brands could be aware that their message that they're trying to send over went in a appropriate direction as well. Now, you know, if we're gonna extend on this one, time spent on ads, behavior flow, viewability, the number of swipes that you might have with these playable solutions, these are really just a tip of the iceberg, if you're asking me. There is so many other things that we should be aware, and more specifically, I would like to pay attention for during our session, about the users and what they going through, what sort of feelings they have when they playing such creatives. Um, Another point as well is the user initiate these ad experience as opposed to having to sit through in order to get back to the content. So there is these playable solutions should be more like a lean back as opposed to pushed experience, if you understand what I'm trying to say. So very important to have them less intrusive so we can actually fit within this overall experience, where on one side you're going to have brands understanding the entire transparency, and the other side where you're going to have audience that will actually accept this more easily, and play along. Overall, I think that knowledge is the key here, and brands out there should look for experienced companions who will help them out in order to achieve such experience.
Yeah. Have you got some examples you can sort of share with us that we can sort of see?
Absolutely, absolutely. Let me just there might be an issue with one of the slides, but nevertheless, just let me briefly touch one of the points that I've also noticed when it comes down to playable, and then I'm gonna show you cool examples that we have. When we talk about playable ads, when the user finishes playing, there is a very strong call to action at the end of the game. However, what we usually miss, that there is also a replay button. Now, what we should look as a metric for the success for a playable ad is often this re-engagement, and this is something that is going to definitely differentiate playable solution from all other formats that we have available on the market. And if I just may for a second go back to one of the first party data that we have in-house, oftentimes we see around 25 to 30% replay rates on the engagement. So at the end of the day, I think it's all about fun and how you're what sort of idea you're gonna use to send this message across. So, when we're talking to the partners, and this is the part that I like the most, explaining why they should adopt this playable solution. Usually you would go and say, look, if you take, for example, video or banner, is there any video or banner that will, immediately have this voluntary re-engagement? In majority of the cases, this is going to be one of 4 or even one of 5 people who will watch it or re-engage with that playable ad. So that's something amazing, and I usually use this as an effective kind of comparison to prove the point why playable solution is so beneficial.
Sure. Well, you're bringing something to the user. That's what. Sorry, to the user, to the people. You're bringing content. And
absolutely. Now, as you said, speaking about some of the cool examples that we've seen and that we build, now currently what I'm showing you on the screen is a playable ad. It's so simplistic in the execution. On the left-hand side of the screen, you have Fanta case, and it's actually voice controlled. So you basically yell Fanta at the screen, and then little guys jumps. On the other side, on the right-hand side of your screen, you have one of the Kellogg's cases where you need to tap on the screen to jump from one portion of the screen to another and avoid obstacles. Mm-hmm. These type of ads have been traditionally associated with driving mobile game downloads, but they are also getting a lot of momentum with non-gaming verticals, including CPG, entertainment properties, fast food restaurants, etc. What I personally think is that they're like super fun and also at the same time impactful way to engage an audience and get them to interact with your brand.
How long? How long would you say on average it takes to build this sort of thing?
That's a very good question because it really depends on the solution. You know, if we're talking about brand new solution, you need to take into account where you usually go back and forth with a client trying to understand what sort of message they're trying to push forward, right? But once you have this brief, I would say it usually takes between 4 to 6 weeks to adopt such concept.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a proper collaboration.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what's quite interesting, they're engaging multiple senses as well, like sight, hearing, touch. Just making a memorable medium for storytelling. So you know, playable ads also leverage the massive impact gaming has on the pop culture. With the majority of people now playing and enjoying games in some sort of form on a weekly or even like daily basis. So this is why I think this is such a cool approach, as I said, in a market that has tons of different messages sent over in like every other second.
And with that thing running in the background, I'm becoming a bit mesmerized with the guy jumping around the around the cereals. I think it's sucking me in.
Another cool example, this is probably the last example that I would like to share with you, which doesn't really shows off everything that I've been facing within programmatic channels so far, because we have more than 15 to 20 different playable solutions, and we've been working on different marketing categories so far. But the one that I'm showing you now on the screen, this is like an interactive video. This unique video ad unit offers on-screen prompts to enable the audience to interact with the video. Basically, that's kind of the goal of it. The prompt can take the form of quick reaction challenge, asking the user to quickly tap or swipe according to instructions shown on the screen before time runs out. But interactive video can also provide like branching paths, so it's really down to what sort of gaming mechanics will be used. And in these circumstances where we have branching paths, user decides which direction will take. So at that stage, once the user clicks on the screen, the video pauses, and audiences offered a choice. The choice will affect the narrative of the rest of the video.
Yeah.
So again, I would like to circle back what I said previously. Beside this end card and call to action, there is a replay button, and replay button again is quite important for brands down the line to understand not only if their message has received the appropriate audience, but also to see what sort of engagement and re-engagement they had down the line. I've seen these ads quite popular with streaming services, in general film industry. And the interesting part about that is that once you have a regular trailer, you're usually just a passive viewer. But then once you apply these, interactive layers on top, all of a sudden you're becoming an active player. And it's that easy, So just like reflecting on what we have mentioned so far, I think that ultimate goal is to create an experience that like resonates really well, with highly playable, highly engaging, that is fun to play as well. And if brands goes through that sort of path, I think this is an actual recipe for the successful and compelling playable experience.
Yeah, I mean, and so you're saying that there's a fair amount of adoption. Hey, you got 100 people creating stuff back in the back room. So you got more and more brands looking to experiment and to see whether they can whether what they're doing fits with this type of environment.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's, you know, down the line, it's all about the message that you're trying to send across and what sort of medium you're going to use to do so. If you have a good idea, and if you're working with experienced people, I'm pretty sure that you can reach that decision quite easily. And then it's really down to the audience how they're going to react to it. So if there is a quality behind, I'm pretty sure that audience will be very happy and engage with that experience.
Yeah. You just got to make sure the budget's there.
True that.
But I mean, overall, then, so you think there's a sort of like a general need around sort of like education around what is actually feasible? Because it looks like, you know, okay, you're limited to a screen size. I mean, if it's, you know, that's probably the only thing, obviously, physically. Then outside of that, it's just pure the imagination of the creative, and the how far that people want to take the brief.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, absolutely. You know, if we go back to programmatic environment, I think in general that rich media could be quite difficult to run.
Yeah.
You're going to end up with misclicks, you know, maybe viewability is not going to be on a high level. There could be so many different aspects that you should be aware of and that you put in that risk box before you even consider such solution. But once you make it work, I think it's important to understand what sort of impact it could leave on your specific audience. So regardless of the brand, you know, if you use this in a way where you're going to have, as I said, a very cool idea behind, then I'm pretty sure you're going to reach that impactful stage where your audience is going to experience this in a proper way.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. Cool.
Maybe the last point I would like to mention is the safety bit. You know, running these sort of creative ads could be quite tricky if you're not using a safe environment.
Sure.
So it is, we did just touch bases on that, but I would really like to kind of mention this bit about the transparency again. And I've noticed there is a huge movement in that direction, especially when it comes to in-app environment, about TCF 2.0 signal, and just using an audience that will actually understand where their data has been transferred later on. So having this user consent and on one side and having a brand safe environment on the other side is additional, you know, points and items that you and brands need to take into account when they're running these playable solutions.
Yeah, no, it's good. I mean, you know, it does feel at the moment as if the industry is, you know, there's so much potential, and I think, you know, it's to some degree it's finally getting its act together around, you know, what is acceptable in the industry, and things like TCF 2.0, and of course its iteration is only going to help along those lines, and certainly standardization of measurement with like the open measurement things are going to really help again. But I mean, I think it's all this side of things, I love it. I mean, you know, it's great to see the way that technology is enabling a better way to engage with an audience. You know, it's doing what it's supposed to be doing.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think to some degree, what it really brings in here is the fact that I think we all, and certainly I know I do, get a little bit too wrapped up sometimes with the technology and the delivery process, when in fact, at the end of the day, we're talking about advertising. It's the creative. It's the way that sort of draws somebody in, catches someone's eye, and makes them interested. Which is the bit I think probably I'm first to admit will, you know, some not passes me by as an individual, but passed me by sometimes as a technology partner in this space. So it's great to see people really embracing what can be done.
Absolutely, yeah, and I cannot agree more on what you just said. And yeah, as we mentioned, it's really all about how it will resonate with your audience. So maybe like advice for brands that are thinking about playable solution. As I mentioned, they really need to think about what the main idea is behind it, just to avoid this portion where they're gonna bombard with messages just so they can, reach a specific awareness rates. It's really not about awareness any longer. I think it's more about the engagement and what sort of audience you have behind these re-engagement rates.
Great, fantastic. Right. Well, I think we've done rich media in the in-app environment. Well, to some degree.
To some degree, as I said at the very beginning, I was really trying kind of to separate myself from the rest of rich media that it's available on the market, especially through our display environment. This is more specifically just, highlights of bits and bobs, what we've been doing within our in-house solution, and more specifically within in-app environment. So yeah, I'm hoping this was useful to some.
I personally found it very interesting. I hope the people who are watching also found it. I hope so. I mean, look, it's part of what we do, and I think it's great to see. I mean, cool.
Just to kind of scratch the surface.
Yeah.
Obviously, I would definitely like to use the opportunity just to send a shout out to anyone who might be interested to discuss about playable solution in more details. Myself and my team will definitely be more than happy to kind of show you all other cool examples and to share knowledge. I think that's the message I would like to send across, because we really need to put our heads together and share the knowledge that we possess.
Absolutely. So fantastic. So I think it just sort of leaves me to say thank you. I've learned some things, and it's been really enjoyable talking with you. And to anybody and to those who are tuning in, thank you very much for joining us. And I hope that you can also join some of the other events that for the game sessions which we're hosting this week. So thank you very much, and bye-bye.
Thank you very much for having me. Bye-bye.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
Is that all right?
Yes. I think, Sasha, you are the animator, so maybe you can stop the recording, because I think I can't do it.